Hello and welcome back to Pandemic Playground with Dave. So basically, I kind of want to start a new series called Fun with Mods, and that's basically playing with mods, but also with a twist. So it's more or less a experimental video at the same time with these mods that I come across and want to kind of just test things around and play with it to see if I get anything ridiculous out of them. So let's get started. Alright, so kind of the first initial piece for the series is going to be spotlighting the mod itself. And the mod today we're going to talk about is going to be this thing here, the Gravity Collector. Alright, so you can see the Gravity Collector is basically a collector with multiple ports, the collector end, and it pulls in mats or materials or resources directly to the collector. Got two variations of it, which is large grid and small grid. So you have the small grid with the large port and the small ports around it. And for the large grid, it's only got 3 ports surrounding it. Very, very similar to the original collector, which is this here. Except that has less ports. It only's got the port in the back. And for the small grid, it's only, well, it's got more ports, but more or less, it's more small ports in this case. So that's the difference between them. And also, of course, the amount of materials it takes to make them. Alright, so if you can see on the bottom right hand side, you have the Gravity Collector large grid versus the collector large grid. And on the side of the coin, small grid collector versus small grid Gravity Collector. So a bit of a difference in terms of amount of steel plates, construction components, and all that jazz. So now let's look at the capabilities of these collectors. All right, so we're just gonna plop on a battery, a Gravity Collector right over here, and then we're gonna look at our settings for it, and your regular stuff here, showing HUD, blah blah. Right, so the only real aspect of it is gonna be a pull range, maximum is 60 meters, not very far, obviously, and then you have your pull strength, which could be up to 200%. So basically by default, it just pulls in mats and materials, and it could pull in things like hand drills right there, or any other mats if you want to spawn them in there. So let's just say a canvas or something like that. It'll just pull it in and grab it from there. It does also pull in things like ore. So let's just say we have 100 cobalt floating around. It will just pull it in. So that's what the Gravity Collector does, basically, in a nutshell, which is pretty nifty when it comes to collecting things in space, especially scrap from destroyed ships or from damaged ships. A lot of fun things to do with that. And again, it's only got that 60 meter collection distance. So if we put a thing right over there, or GPS mark right there, let's just say we're 64 meters away and we spawn some ore, it's not going to pull it in, as you see there. But if we're about, let's just see if we're about 59.7, I think that should be able to do it. Yeah, well, I'm a little closer too, but it'll pull it in and collect that from there. All right, so that is basically the large grid version of the Gravity Collector. So now the small grid version is actually something I haven't played with at all. So we'll just plop that on and see if there's any big differences here. I would assume distance may be a bit of a difference. Yep. Pull range is 40. So that's your main two differences there. I don't think it's going to react any differently from anything else. Yep. So that pulls in exactly how it's supposed to pull in. It being small grid, will it pull in things like a large steel tube that usually fits in a larger port? I would think so. I don't think that's going to be a big issue there. Yep. Doesn't seem like it's going to be an issue there. So it just highlights it and pulls it in, and it'll just kind of grab it. And that's something I kind of want to play around with too. What happens if it gets full and there's no gravity? Is it just gonna make it fly away? I guess so. So I guess I'll see you later. It's a pretty interesting mod. I've been using it in the Surviving as a Trader series, and it's been useful to correct scrap and everything like that from damaged ships and the Maydays. So I had to go and test to see what it can possibly do if we max out the collection power. How dangerous can this mod be? Is basically the question. Alright, so I'm gonna launch my current ship from the series that's using the gravity collectors. And these are currently at the default settings at 60 meters and pull strength as 100. So now, kind of my experiment here is what happens if I were to pull in a really, really heavy piece of material. So for an example, large steel tubes right here. If we maxed out the amount we can get here, it's going to be really, really heavy. So if we threw this out here, what's going to happen? Probably nothing, I would assume. But it would be very heavy in terms of this individual grouping of materials. So let's see what happens. Okay, so it pulls it extremely slowly. At its current strength pull power. So I'm assuming that's gonna take forever. So I actually wasn't expecting that at all, to be honest. Where 990k worth of large steel tube will be pulled that slowly. Because if you had just one, it's like almost instant pull, basically, right into it. So that is very interesting. And let's see what happens when it gets even closer to the collectors. It's going right into right into our, our connector instead for whatever reason. All right, so what if we just got rid of the connector and we'll put in another gravity collector right there. All right, so instead of getting too far away now, I'm gonna try to respawn that again. Large steel tubes. Let's get the 999k worth of large steel tubes. Let it pull in. I should have probably gotten a little closer. But I kind of want to see how it reacts once it gets there. I'm pretty sure what it's going to do is just going to suck it in and suck in as much as it can. Although we probably don't have that much space to collect all of it. Right, so exactly what I thought was going to happen, which is absolutely nothing. Alright, so just got rid of it as a floating object. Now, another piece of the puzzle is heavy things such as ice. So I'm pretty sure if we spawn 199k worth of ice, it will slowly travel to the collector once again. But what happens if we do, let's just say, a K worth of ice? So it's going to be like a large piece of ore, basically. We put that there, and it's going to suck it in. It goes right in. All right, nothing too crazy. But if we add a lot more, 10k worth of ice. Now this becomes a very, very big piece of ice. So what if we traveled a little bit further away? I know it's heavy, so it might not even do anything. Oop, I think I might be too far, right? Let's just put a GPS marker right here. Yep, we're a little too far when it comes to that. So our main distance right over here. Once again, put in the ice. So it slowly sucks it in, which is a lot faster than 999k worth of large steel tubes, but this works out. And it's behaving as it should, where it's just sucking it in. What I was kind of hoping what it would do was cause a big crash. And it's not seeming like it's trying to do that whatsoever at that distance. Now, not 199 or 1000k worth of ice pulls it in really, really slowly. So that's pretty interesting how that works. And I guess it'll just slowly try to pull it in and do its thing. So I guess we're just gonna have to remove it as floating blocks so we don't have too many of it floating around. So, okay. Now let's just make it a little bit more ridiculous. So we want to get the collectors to be at full strength, 200%. What is that going to do? So if I put in, let's just say ice again, but let's just say 10k worth of ice at a fairly close distance. I would say about half the probable distance of it. So it pulls it pretty quickly. It's nothing too bad, but no clang, no crash, no nothing. Okay, so So I guess that would be the expected behavior. But what I was really hoping for was a big old boom when it does pull it in too fast. But I guess that's not the case and probably designed exactly as intended. Alright, so what if we did a little less? So let's just say 100. We put it here and it grabs it pretty fast, but it does slow down once it gets closer to the connectors itself. That's actually pretty interesting how that works. So once again, if we did 100 or 1,000, you see that sucks it in and then it just slows down right over here and gets collected. So not as crazy as I thought it was going to be. But if we did the whole, let's just say, detector components this time around, I know we put on 200. These things will pull in very slowly and get sucked in. Once again, I guess that's the intended behavior and it worked out just as fine. I was really hoping for some clang or some kind of weird issue with it, but it looks like it works out better than I thought. Okay, so the next test basically is going to be what happens if we're collecting and flying close to it. So basically, I'm probably not going to do 999k worth of stuff. But let's just say ice. Let's just say, what? 10,000 or so is just like, just have several of them kind of floating around in this case. And if we're flying close to it while it's getting sucked in, is that going to be an issue? So getting our ship here. We'll pop in the camera that's very close to the gravity collectors. And let's just say we're not going to go too fast. Let's just go right around 20 meters per second. We aim at it to get collecting and nothing crazy happens. All right, a little bit of a hit, but not much at all. Okay, so gravity collectors are very safe, it seems. Doesn't work out when it comes to me trying to make some craziness out of it. But I do have an interesting idea. All right, so this is what we're going to test around with. And that is having collectors surrounding the collection point. So basically, this is squared right in the middle between this collector. So what would happen if it's squared right in the middle with active collectors? Which one is it going to grab from? So they're all at default 100%. So let's just see what's going to happen here. So what we're going to do is basically, I have 1,000 ice in there. Just throw out in 3, 2, 1. And see what happens. Okay, so they're all going towards this one. That's interesting. Oh, no. It's going towards that one. And that is because these have more strength. That was something I should have tested as well. So I'm glad that actually happened. So let's turn those off. And let's kind of redo that again. Okay. They're in. And now they're launched. Which collector is going to win? None. So that's the interesting piece to it. That's kind of what I thought was going to happen too. So if it's straight in the middle, it has conflict in trying to figure out which one is going to collect it. So, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the middle either, as you see there. So it's kind of off to the side a little bit. It's still not collecting into one. So if I threw them there, it does the same thing. So let's throw it a little bit closer to one end. How is it going to react? It's just going to stand still. Interesting. Yep, as you see there, it's just going to stand still. It doesn't want to fight against each other in this case, which makes sense. Like, you're probably never going to have a connection or collectors like this anyways. So, makes a lot of sense. What if we add more gravity collectors on either side? Let's just say this side for now. Okay, so it kind of started to win over grabbing those, but it could have just been me just grabbing it, making it do that. So let's just see If we were to spawn a little bit more of the ice. Yeah, I think it was more or less just me plopping them down that caused that behavior. So even if I were to put it closer, yeah, it's not doing anything. If we start plopping some down over here, probably gives some movement, but not too many. So let's just say throw one there. Throw in there. Nothing happens. Okay, so that's interesting. Yep. Nothing is happening when you surround it like this, which is, again, a ridiculous thing to do, but had to test it out and see if it does do anything. Alright, so I'm sure if we were to say, take this one on the right-hand side of it, increase this by 101, is it gonna start sucking it in? No. Okay. Not strong enough. I am pretty sure and certain if I did 200, then it would... Nope. I would have thought that would have worked out because the collectors back there did that as that kind of behavior. Alright, let's plop in something new. Interesting. So it's not doing it. I really honestly thought it would have just pulled it in. Even at 200, it's not wanting to pull in. That's a little crazy. All right, what if we did this one and pulled it in 200 as well? Nope. And there you go. So there's some movement here, but not too much. So you can see if you increase the percentages, it does help a little bit. Not by much, because you see it's slowly moving and not really going in. All right, so now it's going there, but some of these are kind of stuck, I guess, for whatever reasons. But I'm sure if we were to turn one by one off, we're going to get some movement as well. And looks like it's moving now perfectly fine with it having the 200%. And it looks like it just kind of stopped as well. So that's interesting. All right, I'm going to start turning all of them off here on each side. And I'm pretty sure the behavior is that it's going to allow that to all suck in. Yep. Let me turn that off. And it's all gone through already. So interesting enough, if you did surround it or find a or make a build like this, very ridiculous in a way, you won't be able to collect if they're even strength. So kind of makes sense. Not as crazy as I thought as it would be. I was hoping to create a bigger, larger clang, but it's gonna happen. Alright, so interesting enough, if something's way too heavy, like these rockets, it decides not to pull it. Which is pretty interesting. But if we load up a big block of iron, yeah, it's not gonna pull it either. So if it's too heavy, not gonna work. I guess iron is more heavier than ice, I guess, in this case. Nope. I think I just pretty much broke something instead. Where the system is not trying to suck in anything whatsoever anymore when it's too heavy. Not exactly sure why, but I think I broke the whole entire system basically. So yeah, heavy. I guess it's too heavy. It's not gonna pull it because if I just did one or two pieces, it would definitely go. So even if I were to grab this and throw it in this right here to dump it, it should pull it from the 200% one there. Yeah, and it does. Really, really slowly though. Alright, so this was fun with mods. Unfortunately, it wasn't a big go clang like I was kind of expecting it to do. But it does seem like I kind of broke something here, but that's probably because it's within this whole square of collectors, which makes no sense whatsoever. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of ridiculous form of series where you spotlight the mod and try to do something ridiculous with them. Unfortunately, this one wasn't as ridiculous, but hopefully the next one will be. If you want me to continue the series, please like and subscribe down below, leave a comment as well, and of course, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.